Konnichiwa, welcome back. In today's video, we will study new Japanese grammar from the Minna no Nihongo textbook, lesson 6. それでは始めましょう。So here are the grammar patterns that we will study in this lesson. The first one is the particle o, n-o, verb. So o is pronounced as the hiragana o. This particle is used to indicate the object of the action or the receiver of the action. For example, I eat breakfast. The verb is eat, and the object of the verb is breakfast. Breakfast is asagohan. Asagohan followed by the particle o, and then the verb eat, tabemasu. Asagohan o tabemasu. Another example, I drink tea. The verb is drink, and the object of the verb is tea. So, tea in Japanese is ocha. Ocha o drink is nomimasu. I smoke cigarettes. The verb is smoke, and the object of the verb is cigarettes. So first, cigarettes in Japanese is tabako, followed by the particle o, and then the verb smoke, which is suimasu. Tabako suimasu. And how to ask, what do you? Verb. In this example, what do you eat? So we will just replace the noun with the word what, which is nani, followed by the particle o, and then the verb eat, tabemasu. And lastly, the question marker, ka. Nani o tabemasu ka? Next one is en o shimasu. The word shimasu means to do, but it could also mean other things. For example, play, sport, or games. Play soccer or football. So first is the noun, which is soccer, sakka o, and then play, which is shimasu, sakka o shimasu. Or you can also use this with games such as play cards. Cards is torampu, trampu o shimasu. Another meaning of shimasu is to hold a meeting or an event. For example, have a party. Party o shimasu. Party o shimasu. Or hold a meeting or have a meeting. Meeting is kaigi o shimasu. Kaigi o shimasu. And lastly, shimasu means to do something. For example, do homework. Homework is shukudai o shimasu. Shukudai o shimasu. Another example, do work. Work is shigoto. Shigoto o shimasu. Now, how to ask what will you do or what do you do? The pattern is nani o or nani o shimasu ka? What will you do? Nani o shimasu ka? You can also use this with the past tense. For example, what did you do yesterday? Let's begin with the expression of time, which is yesterday. Kino nani o shimashita ka? Shimashita is the past form of shimasu. What will you do on Tuesday? Kayobi wa? So if you want to give emphasis, for example, as for Tuesday, what will you do? Nani o shimasu ka? Kayobi wa nani o shimasu ka? If you want to give emphasis on the day or on the subject. Okay, so you've learned the word for what, which are nan or nani. So when do we use nan and when do we use nani? So nan is used before words that starts with ta, da, or na group syllable. For example, the phrase, what is it? Nan desu ka? So the word des is in the da group syllable, so we use nan. Nan desu ka? Another example is the expression what kind or what about. Nan no, because no is in the na or n group syllable. Nan no. In lesson 21, you would learn how do you say or nanto imasu ka? Because to is in the ta group or ta syllables. Nan is also used before counter suffix, and so on. For example, how old, which is nansai, or the suffix for people, how many people, nannin. Nin is the suffix for people or the counter for people. Other examples are nanmai, nangai, nanyobi, nannichi, nanji, nanfun, and so on. Next is the word nani or what. If you want to say just the word what, for example, what or what, you say nani. So just change the intonation. For example, if you want to say what, nani, or what, nani. Nani is also used before the particle o, nani o, and nani mo. So if you remember from lesson 5, we learned doko mo, which means not anywhere or nowhere. Here, nani mo followed by a negative verb means not any or nothing. Nani is also used before the word go, which means what language, nani go, or what color, nani iro. Iro means color, which you would learn in the future lesson. But for the meantime, just memorize these words, when to use nan and when to use nani. Next is the particle de, which indicates where the action happens or happened. If you remember in lesson 5, we used the de particle to indicate what mode of transportation, nande. This time, the particle de indicates where the action happens or happened. So the pattern is noun, which is a place, is followed by the particle de and then the verb. Or if there's an object of the verb, object and then the verb. It just means verb at or verb in. For example, I eat at the restaurant. So our noun is restaurant and our verb is eat. Restaurant followed by the particle de, because this is where the action is happening or the action happens. And then the verb eat, tabemasu. Restaurant de tabemasu. I bought Japanese wine at the store. First is the place or the noun store. Mise. De, at the store. Sake o kaimashita. Sake means wine or Japanese wine, followed by the particle o, and then the verb bought. Kaimashita. The present of kaimashita is kaimasu. Mise de sake o kaimashita. I'll take a photo in the garden. Garden means niwa. Niwa de. Photo is shashin. O torimasu. Niwa de shashin o torimasu. And how to ask where will you do an action. So we will not use nan de. In this case, we will use the interrogative word where or doko. Doko de aimasu ka? Meet in Japanese is aimasu. Doko de aimasu ka? where will you meet? So the structure of the sentence is usually subject or the doer of the action, followed by the expression of time or the place, and then object plus verb. For example, 私は明日にデパートで自転車を買います。Next is how to invite someone to do something, or won't you verb with me? In Japanese, 一緒に means with me, and then verb ませんか? For example, won't you go to the station with me? Let's start with the word with me or 一緒に. 一緒に to the station. 駅へ. So, へ is the particle to indicate the direction of the action, which is go. 行きませんか? Won't you go with me? 一緒に駅へ行きませんか? Won't you drink some beer with me? 一緒にビールを飲みませんか? ビール means beer, followed by the particle o, and then the verb drink or won't you drink, 飲みませんか? Won't you eat lunch with me? 一緒に昼ご飯を食べませんか? Won't you play tennis with me? 一緒にテニスをしませんか? You can answer the following questions by saying yes, sure, or はい、いいです. Or you can use the next grammar pattern, which is verb ましょう, or let's verb or let's do an action. This could also be used to invite someone. So you just change mas into ましょう. Verb ましょう. For example, I go. So the mas form of go is 行きます. Change that to let's go and it becomes 行きましょう. I eat. The mas form of the verb eat is 食べます. Let's eat becomes 食べましょう. Let's go to Kyoto. First is the place Kyoto. 京都へ行きましょう. Let's play soccer. サッカーをしましょう. サッカーをしましょう. So like I said, verb ませんか and verb ましょう both means to invite someone. However, ませんか is more polite, or the speaker is not being pushy with the invitation and he or she is giving the listener the chance to decline. On the other hand, verb ましょう is more assertive. Let's do this or let's go. And lastly, o. So in lesson 3, we've learned the prefix o is added to a word to show respect. For example, country, o kuni, alcohol, osake, cherry blossom viewing, o hanami. However, there are some words that starts with o, but they don't necessarily mean that they're being polite, such as tea, which is ocha, money, which is okane. So they are just part of the word. They don't necessarily mean that they're being polite. So you cannot say cha or kane. You have to say ocha or okane. Now let's review our lesson for today. The first is the particle o. For example, 朝ごはんを食べます. お茶を飲みます. タバコを吸います. And to ask the question, 何を食べますか? Next is をします, which could mean hold an event, do something, or play sports. For example, サッカーをします. パーティーをします. 仕事をします. And to ask the question, what will you do? Or what do you do? 何をしますか? The particle de, which indicates the place of the action. For example, レストランで食べます。店で買います。駅で会います。And the question, どこでしますか? How to invite someone. Won't you 何々 with me? 一緒に verb ませんか? For example, 一緒に行きませんか? 一緒に飲みませんか? 一緒に食べませんか? 一緒にしませんか? And lastly, let's blank. Let's 何々. So we just change the mass form of the verb into ましょう. For example, 行きます。行きましょう。飲みます。飲みましょう。食べます。食べましょう。します。しましょう。Now, time for conversation practice. See if you can answer the following in Japanese. タバコを吸いますか? 毎朝何を食べますか? 昨日何を食べましたか? 昨日何をしましたか? どこでご飯を買いますか? Okay, so that's it for today's lesson. As usual, if you have any questions or clarifications, please write them down in the comment section below. And please subscribe if you don't want to miss any of the upcoming lessons. Again, thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next lesson. Bye!